At Mark Levin Show. I agree with Lauren Graham. LeBron James wants to trash talk a president in the most vile way, then let us have at it. Come on, tough guy, let us see just how smart you are. The star LeBron James responded in a tweet Friday night to Fox News host Lauren Graham after she told him to shut up and dribble rather than criticize President Trump. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin accused the United States on Thursday of stirring up protests against his 12-year rule and said foreign countries were at the new Brown. Black Panther might be the best movie I've seen all year, but this is definitely second best.
And redemption for that young man only 4 years ago, having his shot wiped out clean. He's come back with a vengeance. You see how happy and excited he is.
At Joe888. Here is my non-political tweet for tonight. Enjoy Saturday morning, Saturday Winter Olympics 2018 non-political tweet.
There's a lot here, Pete. So let me just start off first by saying I fully realize that nothing I say, you say, or anybody else says is going to change liberal minds. They're absolutely convinced there's a big collusion conspiracy here, and I get it. Your skulls are 6 feet thick. You're committed to this. You think the president is guilty of treason. I get nothing I'm saying is going to change that. I'm just telling you, you're living in a fantasy land. There's no collusion now. There was no collusion yesterday. There was no collusion last year. There's no collusion that's going to happen tomorrow. There's no collusion. Read the indictment. Even worse, Pete, one more point of this. If you read number 53, line 53 of the indictment, they're lined out it's pretty easy to see. You'll see that they actually had groups up there that were Support Hillary, Save American Muslims. These are actual names of groups these Russians supported. There's no collusion. You're just making it up.
Right. And also, I would say that in the indictment, there was no mention of the dossier, which has done more to disrupt American politics than these really stupid ads that we saw, these Facebook ads that we saw come out of this, this indictment.
Right. Now, Rachel, I'm glad you brought that up, because although there is categorically no collusion with the Trump team and these Russians, you can't unwittingly collude, okay? It's not possible. If you understand the definition of collusion, you can't unwittingly collude. It makes no sense. Like, wake up, smell the coffee, okay? But you bring up a critical point. there clearly was some form of collusion with this dossier and Russians. There's no question about that. That information came from two places in the dossier. Russians and Clinton consiglieres who information laundered it through the justice system.
Dan, I want you to react to your friend and Minority Leader of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who, this was her statement, we'll put it up now, as desperately as President Trump insists that the special counsel investigation is a hoax, these latest indictments build on more.
The husband of murdered MP Joe Cox has stepped down from a number of charity roles amid a series of sexual harassment allegations. Brendan Cox has left his role as director of a charity's Morin. At the Susan. I'll just leave this here. Thoughts anyone? At Colin Rudd. Ever since God and patriotism was replaced with liberalism and an anti-American message, school shootings have been through the roof. Coincidence? Nope. At Brian Lasonusa, at Real Donald Trump who, Trump has a heavy heart but a light smile and thumbs up with that $30 million from UNRWA. Gun reform, no Parkland, they Megan Gonzalez, Stoneman shooting with Colbs and Bloodman. At Nancy, 39 times police were called. Nicolas Cruz YouTube posting was reported was on FBI radar since 2016, recorded himself torturing animals but protocols were not followed. & failed to keep Douglas safe. Fire rape Parkland strong 17 victims. At Politico. A caged Clinton and fake woke blacks 9 striking findings from the Mueller indictment.
Under the last 8 years, so they're not doing their due diligence. When it comes to Russian collusion, I got a news flash for Adam Schiff. I got a news flash for everybody who talks about Russian collusion. The Russians have been messing up in other people's elections since 1917, since the Soviet Union was created. So great, let's find these people, let's prosecute them, but it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has nothing to do with Paul Manafort advising the Ukrainians and then not disclosing his wire transfers.
Yeah, years ago. I mean,
guys, come on.
At Sindov, at the NEET replying, at the NEET, at Sindov Voltactio. Over the last 5 years for which data are available, rifles were used in 2.5% of all murders in the U.S., handguns were used in 48%. In mass shootings over several decades, handguns were used most often. Yet you contend that AR-15s are uniquely dangerous. At Exoticamora, at Real Donald Trump. Parkland. Anyone else notice how Trump avoided visiting the surviving students, and anyone else who called out for gun reform? No gun control. No. At Real Donald Trump is a coward. As the tragic pattern of gun violence continues, the NRA faces a genuine threat to its future. A growing divide between its ferocious leadership and at Brat Pack, at Bernie Sanders, at Postolo Coar. Bernie Sanders voted against Russian sanctions. What now, Bernie Bros? Bernie has been a traitor for many years. He even voted against the Amber Alert Brady bill. Always votes for no policy because he has been in a horse since they first helped him get a Senate seat. At Tap Politics, at Catherine Lucy, Russian election plot touched even minor Trump supporters. By at Catherine Lucy. West Palm Beach, Florida. At the request was simple: organize or attend a sign-waving rally supporting Donald Trump. But some of the floor. At THN 777. Fantastic. At Tribula, at Briankla's TH, these visuals capture the sick truth of Trump's essential factness. At Nicola Wallace. At Jim Stinson replying. At Nicola Wallach. At King James Yo. If it makes me a sellout to oppose a president who often speaks like a racist, acts like a misogynist and governs like a Russian, then you got me. On Wednesday, February 14th, 2018, just before students at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School were to be dismissed and sent home.
My neck, wrists, and hands froze. Feds taking pictures of the man, so I switch it up. This my Ricky Sam flow. Lately I've been wildin' out of town. Highs, pilots racking up my flight. Mileage, freaking hoes that speak a Italian. Sipping Henny out of chalice. Niggas talk like they ain't salad. No such thing as a challenge. Eating rappers funny. Ricky, you got me?
My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. Subscribe to this YouTube channel right now. Hit subscribe.
Niggas pussy, man, they pussy, they need must. Heard they want my fucking style, what I got. Stomach grinding for rappers, bitch.
We're learning more about the legal implications behind the special counsel's indictments and what it means for the president and the Russia investigation going forward. For analysis, let's turn to former federal prosecutor Renato Mariotti. He joins me now by phone. Renato, the president once again suggesting that he's been vindicated. Is that your read?
No, not at all. I mean, what I would take from this indictment is that there is no conclusion that's been reached by a special counsel Mueller or anyone at the Justice Department or FBI regarding whether or not there was collusion with the Russians or whether or not the Russians influenced the outcome of the election. What this indictment lays out is substantial evidence that the Russians financed a very sophisticated operation to interfere with our elections here in the United States, that they tried to sway the outcome of the election in favor of the president. Now, whether or not anyone in his campaign was involved is something the indictment doesn't speak to yet. But as we heard from Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein, that investigation is ongoing. This indictment does not speak to that. And what we should be looking out for in the weeks and months ahead is what, if anything, Robert Mueller and his team ultimately announces regarding the involvement of other Americans, including potentially associates of the president.
Talk to me a little bit more about that, that angle, because as you mentioned, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein made clear yesterday no signs of collusion from the Trump campaign with these particular indictments. So what do you think that means moving forward on the subject of collusion?
Sure. So, as you pointed out, Raina, Rod Rosenstein was very careful to say it's nothing in these indictments about that. We on the same day they did introduce charges against an individual who was an American who did aid the Russians, although there was no indication that he knew that he was aiding Russian nationals. But he did engage in identity theft. I think what folks at home need to realize is that anyone who knowingly aids somebody in criminal activity is also responsible for that criminal activity. What we know from this indictment is that the Russians and these Russian entities committed crimes in the United States. They were, based upon the indictment, there's charges that they manipulated our election, they engaged in fraud, they stole the identities of Americans and used them to try to help, in this case, the Trump campaign and others, and to also suppress votes. So the question is, was there an American who knew about this operation and helped to make it succeed? That is the legal standard, and that is what Robert Mueller and his team are continuing to investigate.
And if you had to read further into it, do you think that this unnamed American from Florida
censures firebrand on rape over anti-Turkish Marks News DW 16 2.2018?
Well, it looks to me that individual is cooperating with Mueller. That's my read on the legal documents that were filed. That appears to be a cooperation agreement, and my guess is that his aid in the probe is what helped lead to this indictment.
Video fleeing ethnic strife. Congolese refugees seek haven on Ugandan shores. Frames 24.
Associated with the president and his campaign. Well, time will tell there. We know there are a number of people who are cooperating with Special Counsel Mueller. You have Mr. Papadopoulos.
MSC Chief Ishkinder warns of high global danger of war. News DW 16 2.2018.
Time will tell as to whether or not they're able to provide evidence.
Did Russia affect the 2016 election? It is now undeniable.
To conclude that there were people associated with the Trump campaign who knew about this criminal activity and moved it forward in some way.
Renato, you know well the tactics that are used to sort of build a case and present it and bring it forward. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at this, we all know it's not Putin's style. He's not going to turn over these folks, these Russians, in any sort of situation. We can't expect that. Mm-hmm. These guys are likely going to get off. They're likely not going to face justice. So why do you think the Mueller team chose to indict?
Now that is a great question, and I think the most likely answer.
Here are some of the most important quotes from Mueller's indictment of Russians.
Either first, they thought that this would help induce other people to cooperate. In other words, seeing that the evidence laid out and seeing that they were
German Film Festival Berlin M% Beyond kicks off in San Francisco. Film DW 09.2018.
America who assisted their efforts. Help convince them that it would be in their interest to cooperate with Mueller because ultimately they could be charged. Or alternatively, Special Counsel Mueller thought that perhaps it was important for the public to know about these charges.
Totally tragicomic photos of everyday life in former East Germany RCW 16.2018.
The evidence you uncover is a secret, and everything about the
French right-wing leader Wauquiez under fire over comments about Macron, Sarkozy France 24.
Cannot reveal that to the public unless there's an indictment or some sort of charge that's brought. And that was very frustrating for me at times when I was a federal prosecutor and I investigated crimes that I wasn't ultimately able to produce charges on. So I think, one thing that happened here, I think, is a valuable public service, which is the public learning that there was a sophisticated foreign operation to undermine our elections.
Renato Mariotti, thank you for joining us, Renato.
Thank you. You have a good one.
My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. Subscribe to this YouTube channel right now.
New York prosecutors use Harvey Weinstein's studio ahead of reported Daily News DW 12.2018.
Make sure you get all notifications. And I'm just going to read you a couple articles. BuzzFeed is suing the DNC over issues involving Russia dossier. Okay, so it's come full circle. BuzzFeed publishes the Trump-Russia dossier, publishes it with the headline or with the tagline, "This report contains errors and is unverified."
Under pressure to resign after Florida school shooting.
The Trump-Russia dossier is complete and utter nonsense right
French
when they
PM
publish
calls
it.
for defense strategy. Alex
Then they
Jones
get
and
sued
Soares
by
there as a war
3
for your
Russian
mind.
bankers, an entrepreneur, Trump's lawyer. BuzzFeed Fusion GPS gets sued by the same people. We now find out that the Trump-Russia dossier was compiled with help from Cody Shearer and Sidney Blumenthal, who compiled their own dossier. The FBI then used that information in addition to a drunken conversation with George Papadopoulos and Alexander Dumbo Downer, the Australian diplomat. So if there's not enough hearsay, there's a drunken conversation used for a FISA warrant. There's a fake news tabloid gossip, a hearsay-riddled dossier.
America's forever was Guantanamo Bay. Prepare for new inmates, says US Admiral Zero Hedge.
And the Democratic Party memo is still stuck because the FBI doesn't want everybody to know.
New antibiotic found in your Alex Jones and Soares there as a warrant for your mind.
Gossip. So it's still stuck with the FBI right now, and the Democratic memo will say, oh, well, by the way, we had to go ahead and spy on Trump associates because all of this gossip and hearsay.
World news breaking, international news and headlines,
Sky DNC and a hack that never took place. William Binney, we know the forensicator Adam Carter, Elizabeth Voss at Disobedient Media, brilliant journalist,
KFR Nova
and
Hospital,
all of
41 minutes
these cyber
Syria
analysts
deeply.
have said it was a leak, not a hack. BuzzFeed can go down with the ship on that one if they want to. But it looks, and the title of this segment, if it sounds crazy, it looks like, from my theory, I don't have any sources at BuzzFeed, and I don't know if they're going to do this, but it looks like if they want to possibly save their company, that they sue
Counting the homeless on
Debbie
the streets of
Wasserman
Paris,
Schultz.
France 24.
Why? Because Debbie Wasserman Schultz knows exactly what happened, why the DNC never gave its computer servers to the FBI, why the DNC hired CrowdStrike and not anyone that Trump suggested. Oh, well, Trump would have picked a firm that, or a company that was beholden to him. Oh, okay, well, what about the DNC? The DNC demands that we impose sanctions on Russia. Based on what? Well, based on a computer company that they hired, CrowdStrike, that had to backtrack initial claims.
Ethiopia declares state of emergency after PNS resignation, France 24.
I'll read. BuzzFeed is suing the DNC over issues involving the Russia dossier.
Sunmu's satirical article oriented
Okay.
through the eyes of a defector France 24.
BuzzFeed believes that evidence of the alleged DNC break-in by Russian hackers might help the online publisher in a libel suit. But the DNC says releasing information might make it vulnerable to more hacking. There is no information. Even if the DNC releases information, it would be information from CrowdStrike. It wouldn't be information from the U.S. government.
Japan plans to raise pension age beyond
So,
17
the DNC is gonna fight this.
72.2018.
And they're probably going to win. Because BuzzFeed doesn't have to...
Exclusive Germany's defense minister says the defense pact to complement NATO France 24.
Even though they purchased the dossier, and even though, excuse me, the whole Trump-Russia nonsense emanates from Bill and Hillary Clinton, as an insurance policy that Andrew
Life under
McCabe
siege,
and
how
Peter
people
Strzok
struggle to
talked
survive
about.
in eastern Syria deeply.
Two FBI agents who are... BuzzFeed is going to go down with the ship. It's a sinking ship, BuzzFeed, and Fusion GPS. The whole world knows it was a setup, is what I'm trying to say for 4 minutes. The whole world knows it was a setup. The whole world knows that the DNC and Hillary Clinton purchased the Trump-Russia dossier, the Steele dossier. Christopher Steele never met his sources. Christopher Steele was hired to compile a bunch of nonsense. A prostitute urinating on a bed in Moscow. Oh my God, all of this nonsense. It was all tabloid gossip, hearsay. TMZ is an
The movie is
infinitely
racist.
more
Alex
accurate
Jones
source
there is a warrant
than
for your mind.
anything to do with Fusion GPS or BuzzFeed. And that's where we've come in terms of quote-unquote journalism. But this is just a Vanity Fair article. Robert Mueller's investigation into ties between Russia and the Donald Trump campaign, maneuvers mostly in secret. But the infamous dossier at the heart of the scandal, which was compiled by ex-British spook Christopher Steele on behalf of an intelligence firm, alternately retained by the conservative website Washington Free Beacon. Yeah, they actually, the compilation and the payment, they didn't compile the dossier until they received payment from the DNC and Hillary Clinton. Minor footnote there. And members of the Clinton campaign constantly finds its way into the center of the news. First, there was Monday's juicy foreign policy story revealing that BuzzFeed, which published the dossier in early 2017 and was subsequently sued over it, recently commissioned a team led by a former top FBI and White House cybersecurity official to trek all over the world on a secret mission to verify parts of the explosive documents. So you're going to pay the same FBI agents who covered up Clinton email investigation, the Clinton emails that she'll eventually get indicted for, and the foundation, all that stuff, and the same people who believed the nonsense to get the FISA warrant to help you, BuzzFeed. You're about the same intelligence level and level of wisdom and level of understanding
Team to be tried as the Dalton South
regarding
Carolina's crash kills
politics
13 in
as
wake
you
of
were when you
earthquake.
published the dossier to begin with. BuzzFeed isn't going to be around. They're going to lose all. They're going to go into bankruptcy because they're going to lose 5 defamation lawsuits, and who knows who else is going to sue them. Now BuzzFeed is taking the Democratic National Committee to court in an attempt to compel it to turn over information it believes will bolster its defense against Alexei Gubarev, a Russian business magnate who says he was libeled in the dossier when it tied him to the Russians' alleged hacking of the DNC email server. In a nutshell, BuzzFeed believes the DNC has information that could show a link between Gubarev and the email hacking, which would undercut his libel claim. No, it wouldn't.
Team to be tried as the
Even if
Dalton
you
South
said
Carolina
that
school
Gubarev knew
shooting.
somebody who was a Russian hacker, that doesn't mean that he helped them. And it certainly wouldn't mean that he was
Syria's tangled conflict, a kind of regional war has already Syria deeply.
Furthermore, the hack never took place. There's a 0 chance that anyone at BuzzFeed is going to watch this YouTube channel or listen to me. But here, if they wanted to listen to me, this is how you save your company. Not that you care, because you'll go down with the ship, and you helped Hillary and Bill and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Donna Brazile and the Democratic National Committee. The same people, excuse me, the same people who cheated Bernie Sanders, and you'll get nothing to show for it except a Trump presidency and bankruptcy. That's the only thing. You helped cheat Bernie Sanders, covered up the whole Seth Rich issue, all of these things, and you have nothing to show for it except eventual bankruptcy and 8 years of a Trump presidency, because you embody everything wrong with journalism. This is how you get out of it. Okay? We're asking a federal court to force the DNC to follow the law
and it wanted to get caught.
And allow
The New York
BuzzFeed to
Times.
fully defend its First Amendment rights. The DNC, by the way, doesn't have to follow any... There is no law that says that the DNC has to give you information it's hiding from even the U.S. government. Your First Amendment rights don't
Here
allow
are some
you
of
to
the most
libel
important
people.
quotes from Mueller's indictment of Russians.
That was a carefully crafted, stupid
Prominent
statement by
Republican
BuzzFeed.
donor issues ultimatum on assault weapons.
But
The New York
I'll put
Times.
this link below, but there's another link I want to put below that BuzzFeed brass should look at.
Search. Wild. This is just wild. Prominent Republican donor issues ultimatum on assault weapons. The New York Times. This one is over the top. A prominent Republican political donor demanded on Saturday that the party pass legislation to restrict access to guns, and vowed not to contribute to any candidates or electioneering groups that did not support a ban on the sale of military-style firearms to civilians. Al Hoffman Jr., a Florida-based real estate developer who was a leading fundraiser for George W. Bush's campaigns, said he would seek to marshal support among other Republican political donors for a new assault weapons ban. For how many years now have we been doing this, having these experiences of terrorism, mass killings, and how many years has it been that nothing has been done? Mr. Hoffman said in an interview. It is the end of the road for me. Mr. Hoffman announced his ultimatum in an email to half a dozen Republican leaders, including Jeb Bush and Gov. Rick Scott of Florida. He wrote in the email that he would not give money to Mr. Scott, who is considering a campaign for the Senate in 2018. Or other Florida Republicans he has backed in the past, including Representative Brian Mast, if they did not support new gun legislation. I will not write another check unless they all support a ban on assault weapons, he wrote. Enough is enough.
Back to the old school.
At Real Savira. LeBron James: no one should be shooting assault weapons. Also, LeBron James shoots military weapons not available to civilians. 1776 Stonewall. I am from New York and my family is from New York, and I happen to know that back in the 50s and before, high schools here in the city had rifle teams. Students were given rifles and there was a rifle range downstairs. Nobody shot each other. So what has changed? At Emanator, at Objective TH, VP of Advertising at Facebook. At TW Haynes, at PO2, Emma Gonzalez is an over-emotional, arrogant, uninformed, disrespectful brat who knows not of what she speaks. Shame on CNN for trying to manipulate the masses by broadcasting the rants of this high school radical lunatic. Parkland Saturday morning Canon Mug at POTUS to Ainra. At Red Raccoon. I live in North Carolina. I just looked through the gun trader website. If I had between $700, $1,300 I could have my choice of AR-15s to purchase from a private seller within the hour. No background checks, no questions asked. That is a problem. At Station Bird. Republican anchor slams her own party, it has blood on its hands. Nicole Wallace has harsh words for the Republican Party.
So bring it back, dog, to when it all started. so bring it back, dog, to when it all started.
See, they went to blaming my drug addiction on, you know what I'm saying, talking about it was me, you know what I'm saying, baby, I feel like everybody jealous of him, you know what I'm saying, man, it's just, man, boy, that was bullshit, but I ain't gonna lie, I gotta clear this up, it ain't his brother Slim, his old bitch ass nigga, baby, he's a dog, you hear me, every dog had his dick, you know what I'm saying, what goes around comes around, you know what I'm saying, nigga selfish. Nigga all for self. He could have paid a nigga and played a nigga. I found out when we was on our Cash Money Rough Riders tour. You know what I'm saying? We was gone like 60 days. And nigga, you know what I'm saying? He was collecting like 165 G's a night cash. You know what I'm saying? And we was selling out every venue, 10,000, 15,000 people. You know what I'm saying? We was gone for 12 weeks. You know what I'm saying? I come back. You know what I'm saying? I buy me a brand new Benz cash. You know what I'm saying? He give me a check for 300 G's. But I read in the paper, the fucking tour and gross 14 million.
So what was it about him, though, that made you respect him like that? Was it street credibility? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, he done this thing in the streets, you know.
Israel strikes Gaza Strip after 4 soldiers wounded. News DW 17.2018.
At an early age, you heard me, and he brainwashed me. You know what I'm saying? I was like 12 years old, 13 years old. My daddy got killed on the streets and died.
Vatican revives sexual abuse panel. News DW 18.2018.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody kicked this dude in. You know what I'm saying, taped him up, you know what I'm saying, he didn't want the money, you know what I'm saying, so they murked him, you know what I'm saying, so it's like, after that, my mama lost control, you know what I'm saying, I was in the streets head first, you heard me, you know what I'm saying, baby was like, man, I'ma come get you, you know what I'm saying, bring you to the studio.
Blue budget chief wants billions more from Germany post-Brexit. News DW 16.2018. The acknowledges failure to investigate tip on for the gun on Friends 24.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody went to leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, Pimp Daddy got killed, Yella got killed. You know what I'm saying? Tech UNLV called it Joe.
Russia's Lavrov dismisses a election claims as blabber. News DW 17.2018.
Like all on me and Fresh. So bam, he pulled you. You know what I'm saying? I had already done pulled Wayne, but his daddy had pulled him back. You know what I'm saying? I guess he wanted to do his own thing with him. You know what I'm saying? But when Wayne lost his daddy, you know what I'm saying? That's how he ended up coming back. So then Turk fell around, you know what I'm saying? So we was like, we gonna put this group together called the Hot Boys. My dog Gangsta in the field right now, he got life, you know what I'm saying? He started that Hot Boy shit, you heard me? He gave it to
far-right nationalists rally in Bulgarian capital. News DW 18.2018.
Shit, you know what I'm saying? We got a deal. You know what I'm saying?
Austin indicts 13 Russians for election interference. News DW 16.2018.
Been here my whole adolescent life since I was 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? I done dropped my first underground dish, Chopper City. I sold about 200,000 plus. You know what I'm saying? My second underground, I sold over 100,000. My third underground, I sold over 200,000. Then the group, the first Hot Boys album sold over 400,000 independent. You know what I'm saying? No distribution, no nothing. We were going through Southwest at the time. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't know nothing about the business. I ain't know nothing about nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because I depended on Baby to make all my decisions. You know, Baby knew how dedicated I was and how loyal I was, because, you know what I'm saying, when my daddy got killed,
Israeli archaeologists in Earth Air Mosaic. News DW 2.2018.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, whatever. I put my whole life in his hands, you know what I'm saying? I trusted him on whatever judgments he made, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, it just was there.
Okay, so how big of a role do you feel as though that you've had in their success?
Oh, I feel like Cash Money was built on my back. I still got big.
Now Russia benefits from Turkey and Saffron Operation Syria deeply.
And look at them niggas' name on my arm, man. I be mad as a motherfucker.
So is it like some, like in the streets, nigga, that shit, man, get real fucked up. And it turn out to be
reportedly
real
briefed
fucked
on
up,
special
but is it
counsel
like
Russia
fucked
indictments.
up family shit?
It's fucked up to the point right now, you know what I'm saying? Like I see, I got the streets behind me. Once I left Cash Money, the streets left Cash Money. You know what I'm saying? You know, the streets rooting for the underdog.
America's forever was Guantanamo Bay. Prepare for new inmates, says us Admiral Zero Hedge.
You know what I'm saying? So, I just need baby to know one thing. Baby.
Syria 2018, the major issues for the year ahead. Syria
like
deeply.
Father, you hear me? You know what I'm saying? I looked up to you. I went against my family for you at times. You know what I'm saying? You turned your back on a nigga, man. Real nigga don't respect that. You hear me? God don't like ugly. You always talking that
Greatness
bullshit,
sent you
you know
could
what I'm
party
saying?
oust
But
latest leader and revoked in news DW 17.2018.
Relationship we had, you hear me? So just know one thing, you know what I'm saying? Every dog had a day, you hear me? You gonna get churned in a minute, then I'm gonna make it where he ain't gonna be able to come back to New Orleans.
Baby, my nigga, straighten that shit out with BG. That nigga love you, man. Y'all got your names tattooed on each other. You know how deep it is. You can't tell me that you can't lay down at night.
New antibiotic found in your Deluxe Jones info hours. There is a warrant for your mind.
Get your brother straight. That's all I want to say to baby. Get BG straight, dog. You know, would Cash Money be universal without BG? Maybe, maybe not. But that was one of them brothers that helped you build your empire. You can't leave him back. That's all I'm gonna say.
Cash Money, move over, I got this. I'm about to fuck the game up, just watch this. When it's over, I bet I see a profit. I'm a CEO, I'm an artist too. I'm a hustler, I get work from
The director under pressure to resign after Florida school shooting. A timeline of a tightening siege in eastern Ghouta, Syria deeply. The impact of Chechen and North Caucasian militants in Syria deeply. Weather forecast World M% local weather report online Sky News. World news, breaking international news and headlines. Sky News. Israel strikes Gaza Strip after 4 soldiers wounded. News DW 17 2.2018. Yahoo Finance, Business Finance, Stock Market, Quote, News. Must-read coverage on Syria from 2017. Syria deeply. Ethiopia declares state of emergency after PM's resignation. France 24. The shifting role of women in Syria's economy. Syria deeply. Libya marks 7 years since uprising. France 24. School walkouts, sit-ins planned after Florida shooting. What Trump still gets wrong about how Russia played Facebook. Wired. French right-wing leader Wauquiez under fire over comments about Macron, Sarkozy. France 24.
Who could forget those magic moments from the South Korean Winter Olympics? So many memories. But the real gold medal performance in South Korea has been the host nation's development. 55 years ago, South Korea had the life expectancy
Locating. Wow, check out what's going on. Stolen €1 cello returned to French musician Ophli Gaillard. Bar News Bar DW Bar 17 2.2018. I found this in the dark corners of the internet. It was very scary. An 18th century cello worth more than $1.3 million, $1.6 million has been returned to an award-winning French musician. Soloist Ophli Gaillard had been robbed at knife point outside Paris earlier in the week. An attacker had held French soloist Toffoli Gaylord at knife point outside her home earlier in the week, forcing her to hand over the cello before fleeing on foot in the Paris suburb of Pantin. After the robbery on Thursday, Gaylord appealed for help from the public on Facebook, sharing pictures of the instrument. "Help. My cello was stolen this evening in a red arc flight case," Gaylord wrote in a Facebook post, accompanied by pictures of the instrument. "I received an anonymous call late in the morning saying that my cello was inside a car in front of my house. I found it in the back seat," soloist Toffoli Gaylord told the Agence France-Presse news agency on Saturday. One of the windows of the car was broken and the musician said she quickly grabbed the instrument, which is in good condition, before notifying police. The police confirmed that the cello had been found. What Trump still gets wrong about how Russia played Facebook bar wired. I always find the weirdest things. Special Counsel Robert Mueller released a bombshell indictment Friday, implicating 13 Russian nationals and detailing a multi-year, costly, and widespread effort to influence the 2016 presidential election. At the center of that effort were Facebook and its subsidiary Instagram, which the Russian internet research agency IRA used to recruit American followers, plan real-life rallies, and spread propaganda about issues like religion, immigration, and eventually Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Facebook and Instagram were mentioned in the indictment far more times 41 than other online platforms like Twitter, YouTube, and PayPal, which were each mentioned less than 12 times. Still, Rob Goldman, Facebook's vice president of advertising, tweeted Friday that Russia's ultimate goal very definitively was not to influence the election, but to divide America by using our institutions, like free speech and social media. On one hand, Goldman is correct. Russia certainly aimed to deepen partisan divides and stir up chaos. But he is incorrect to assert that the Russians were not interested in influencing the election. That idea is at odds with both what we know about Russia's use of social media platforms and with Mueller's indictment itself. For example, Goldman overlooked the massive impact Russians had with ordinary posts, as opposed to paid ads. Most important, he also appears to misunderstand what the Russians really used the ads for. Saturday, President Trump seized on Goldman's tweets to argue that Russia didn't influence the election. The president implied that media organizations were falsely reporting that it had. Goldman maintains that the Russians were not trying to influence the election, in part, because they organized protests on both sides, which is true. Some of the Russians' propaganda efforts were designed simply to cause confusion, distrust, and sow division. However, that doesn't mean they weren't also attempting to do everything in their power to ensure Clinton wasn't elected. The IRA had dozens of full-time employees and spent over $1 million a month on its efforts, according to the indictment. French right-wing leader Yahoo is under fire over comments about Macron, Sarkozy France 24. I find this particularly fascinating. International News 24/7. Latest update 2018-02-17. In clips released Friday, Lauren Yahoo can be heard telling students at a business college in the eastern city of Lyon that Macron and his team have contributed substantially to setting up a demolition cell to attack former Republican Prime Minister François Fillon. Fillon, the one-time favorite for the French presidency, crashed out of last year's election at the first round after it emerged that his wife was paid nearly €700,000 for a suspected fake job as the French parliamentary assistant. Yahoo who has seen some more moderate members quit the party since he was chosen as the Republicans' leader in December, also attacked right-wing former President Sarkozy. Mueller's indictment of 13 Russians strikes fear into the Trump White House. Mother Jones. I'm glad I don't have to live with people, sheesh. Mark Fallman Feb, 17-2018-5:44 p.m. On Friday, the ongoing investigation led by Special Counsel Robert Mueller issued an astounding 37-page indictment charging 13 Russians in a broad conspiracy to sabotage America's 2016 elections. By Saturday, President Donald Trump and White House officials responded by tripling down on what might be called Trump's Russia First strategy. Reacting to the indictment, Trump said nothing about the sophisticated multi-year operation to sow discord among us voters, or what he might do to punch back at America's foe and stop the continuing attacks. Instead, he focused exclusively on the point that the Russian operation predated his official presidential campaign, and that this particular indictment, surely not the last from the sprawling Mueller investigation, contained no allegations of Trump campaign involvement. No collusion, Trump declared yet again on Twitter and in a statement from the White House. On Saturday, White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley went even further during an appearance on Fox News. He suggested that Russia was not the enemy. The enemy, he said, was within. French right-wing leader Wauquiez under fire over comments about Macron, Sarkozy France 24. I can't believe I found this. International News 24/7. Latest update 2018-02-17. In clips released Friday, Laurent Wauquiez can be heard telling students at a business college in the eastern city of Lyon that Macron and his team have contributed substantially to setting up a demolition cell to attack former Republican Prime Minister François Fillon. Fillon, the one-time favorite for the French presidency, crashed out of last year's election at the first round after it emerged that his wife was paid nearly €700,000 for a suspected fake job as the French parliamentary assistant. Wauquiez, who has seen some more moderate members quit the party since he was chosen as the Republicans' leader in December, also attacked right-wing former President Sarkozy. Atombo Biggs. What movie should I watch that is from year 2000 and earlier? At YouTube, at Tiffanerov. Subscribe to Black Creators, who today is featured creator, at Tiffanerov, designs short fitness routines to train your mind, work your body, and lift your spirit. Subscribe here.
Shooting. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in that textbook, and it's all going to be due to the tireless effort of the school board, the faculty members, the family members, and most importantly, the students. The students who are dead, the students still in the hospital, the students who are now suffering from PTSD, the students who had panic attacks during the vigil because the helicopters who wouldn't leave us alone, hovering over the school 24 hours a day. There has been one tweet that I would like to call attention to. So many signs that the Florida shooter was mentally disturbed, even expelled for bad and erratic behavior. Neighbors and classmates knew he was a big problem, must always report such instances to authorities again and again. We did, time and time again. Since he was in middle school, it was no surprise to anyone who knew him to hear that he was the shooter. Those talking about how we should have not ostracized him, you didn't know this kid. Okay, we did. We know that they're claiming that there are mental health issues, and I am not a psychologist, but we need to pay attention to the fact that this isn't just a mental health issue. He wouldn't have harmed that many students with a knife. And how about we stop blaming the victims for something that was the shooter's fault?
At Real Donald Trump. Very sad that Buffy missed all of the many signals sent out by the Florida school shooter. This is not acceptable. They are spending too much time trying to prove Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. There is no collusion. Get back to the basics and make us all proud. At Cake Match, Gotcha Black Panther. At Alyssa Milano, at CNBC Dano. More of this, please. We know he has a lot of secrets, and that he is willing to pay to keep them secret. Attorney 80. Pass more laws, and make more rules, says the people who don't obey the laws, or follow the rules. Irony. At Spencer for Texas, at Spencer for Texas 1, at Spencer for Texas Com Show, please retweet. It is time for change in West Texas. Click below to learn more about me and my district, sign up, and donate. DM me if you'd like to host a fundraiser outside of district is fine. We have to work together to win. TXLEGE Their Assistance Blue Wave 2018. Some people were caught off guard by the colorful portrait of Barack Obama unveiled at the National Portrait Gallery on Monday, but artist Keehan Wiley's explanation of the significance of certain
So they view this as a political leverage to get a large part of their additional agenda.
And that is the bridge too far here. Not only for Democrats, Paul, but for a lot of Republicans. Trump's position is to the right of most of his party,
but Jason,
and that is his problem.
But even
at Arizona Kate, at FB at Justice Depp Waiting. Mueller Jeff Sessions Mug Office Abuse Group. How is it possible in this country that Hillary and the DNC paid for the steal dossier that was used by our FB to gain fraudulent visa warrants to spy on Trump and his campaign? I want answers at FB at just to see that waiting. Mueller Jeff Sessions MAGA face abuse. At Real Donald Trump. General McMaster forgot to say that the results of the 2016 election were not impacted or changed by the Russians and that the only collusion was between Russia and Crooked Age, the DNC and the Dems. Remember the dirty dossier, uranium, speeches, emails and the Podesta company. Andrea Leadsom, who last week received a death threat from Remain extremists, has said there is no excuse for violent and hostile attitude. Adam Featherine, I really like bothering people outside of Ontario and Quebec by posting pictures of bag milk because the concept is so foreign to them and they go crazy. At Olympics. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the men's free ski slope style final.
Left side 450 to 7, line 270 out, and then down into this one. Right side 270 out. Switch hand drag butter 540. Right side double work 1260, spinning 2 and side hit. We have not seen that from anyone yet, so creative on this. Good one.
On Friday's broadcast of OS Real Time, former Mexican President Vicente Fox commented on the Parkland, Florida school shooting by stating, "When you speak shooting Breitbart TV." At Big Stick 2013. Now this is funny. Director Michael Moore was Russian pawn in anti-Trump protest at Trump Tower. On Friday, the Office of Special Counsel Robert Mueller announced that a grand jury indicted 13 Russian nationals, along with 3 Russian entities, accused of supporting the presidential campaign of
smoke more green than the damn U.S. Open. Still watch Serena Williams balling on civilians.
This week, the official portraits of former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle were revealed. But the modern painting. This week, the official portraits of former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle were revealed. But the modern paintings elicited mixed reviews. Joining me now with their thoughts on the two portraits, two of my favorite ladies, Diamond and Silk. Ladies, let's take a look at Barack's portrait. What do you see right off the bat here with this lovely green monstrosity?
Well, it looked almost like it's Photoshop. I was thinking the Garden of Eden with the snake. Yeah. I mean, or maybe hiding in the thick of things. That's right. Because the bushes are so thick, and I know that some are saying that allegedly he may be behind some of this unmasking. His thumb on some things. So that's what I was thinking off the top.
Okay. And apparently the artist that did the portrait, Kahande Wiley, I'm mispronouncing the name, is famous for using portraits of black women beheading white women. There we go. There, and you see the very similar floral backdrop. I mean, why do you think they chose this artist to begin with? They just wanted to be different. I mean, have you ever seen a normal portrait of a president? Doesn't look like this.
I have no earthly idea, but I do know that Obama was in
News and current affairs from Germany and around the world. DW.
No, that don't even look like you. That looks like it's Photoshop.
That's right.
And then when you look at Michelle Obama,
yeah, I mean that's the president with a bunch of other presidents that totally looks out of whack. Yeah, let's take a look at Michelle here. What strikes you out of the box here, ladies?
That's not her. We saying like what Harpo said on Color Purple.
Mueller indicts 13 Russians for meddling in 2016 as presidential election. France 24.
That does not look like Michelle Obama, so I don't know what that artist.
Britain has sent to Uruka Party oust's latest leader Henry Bolton. News DW 17.2018.
No, I could have got there on that. You know, I could have did that right there. That's that does not look like Michelle Obama.
Aft censures firebrand on rape Hugenberg over anti-Turkish remarks. News DW 16.2018.
Alright, it's like when someone takes a picture of you on their phone, you say,
Germany
let me see
considering
it.
free public transportation to take on air pollution. News DW 13.2018.
I know you guys are fashion icons.
Sweden says open to leading on peacekeeping mission in Ukraine. News DW 17.2018.
Dresses.
I am not for emasculating men.
Friends rape charges against Budget Minister Gerald Darmanin. News DW 16.2018.
I want him to wear a suit or some pants. I don't want him dressing like me. I don't want him going to get his nails done like me. I don't want him putting on no wig like me. I want him to be all man without the dress.
And thank God it's a trend, so hopefully it will fade away very fastly.
So you're saying, I know how much you guys love me. You're saying even if I wore a dress, you'd turn me down.
We wouldn't like it just. No.
We're going to look at you with the side eye.
That's right. And women are not going to like that.
Yes.
All right. All right. Well, listen, you can catch the ladies.
Germany is Gabriel. We need a European moment. News DW 17.2018.
Website Diamond and Silk Inc. I believe.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Let's get to it. A fiend kills 17 in Florida. I won't mention his name. You're not going to see his picture. Him. Instead, let's focus
Russian
on
stocks tumble on Mueller indictment. Brexit deal should strike fair balance, says Germany's Merkel.
Number one, we need to harden soft
Facebook SVP of Ads says Russian meddling aimed to divide us.
This should be $1 trillion industry. One that helps protect against not just mass shooters, but terrorists as well. An industry that's already used by tech giants, entertainment, and media entities should be bigger than all of them combined. It makes sense. Number two, we need a new motto. Fact, this punk had a zillion red flags. The FBI were tipped off and they blew it.
Searching it up. Give me a sec. Look at this. Japan plans to raise pension age beyond 70 bar news bar DW bar 17.2018. This is amazing. The Japanese government has approved plans for raising the optional age for drawing public pensions to 71 or older. It is trying to grapple with labor shortages, ballooning welfare costs and an aging population. The government announced it would finalize the plans as part of a set of legal changes after April 2020. Presently, people in Japan can still choose to start receiving their pensions at any point between the ages of 60 and 70 with greater monthly payments offered to those who only start at age 65 or older. As part of the reform, Japan will also consider raising the mandatory retirement age to 65 from the current 60 for some 3.4 million civil servants. That change, however, would happen in gradual stages. The Japan Times reported that the government took into consideration the fact that older adults were typically physically healthier nowadays than in previous generations, adding that many were highly motivated to continue working or to participate in community activities. However, the country also has a history of people working too much to the extent of utter exhaustion. Read more. Aging Japanese society worries experts. Canada postpones marijuana legalization. The internet is really big, really big, guys. Canadians will have to wait until at least early August or later to legally purchase recreational marijuana. As recently as last week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government was insisting it was on track for legalization in July. But given a new Senate timetable to pass the legislation, Health Minister Jeanette Pettit-Taylor conceded Thursday it won't be done in July. Pettit-Taylor reiterated that provincial and territorial governments need 8 to 12 weeks following Senate passage and royal assent to prepare for retail sales. That puts it in August and possibly not until a month later. Legalization would make Canada the second country to have nationwide legalization, after Uruguay. Magnitude 7.2 earthquake rattles Mexico, triggering deadly helicopter crash. France 24. Whoa. Mama. International News 24/7. Latest update 2018-02-17. The military helicopter was carrying Interior Minister Alfonso Navarrete and Oaxaca State Governor Alejandro Murat, who were unharmed. Unfortunately, multiple people on the ground lost their lives and others were injured, he wrote on Twitter, sending his condolences to the families. Five women, 4 men, and 3 children were killed in the accident, the Oaxaca prosecutor's office said. Russian stocks tumble on Mueller indictments. Wow. Russian stocks tumbled Friday afternoon after a federal grand jury indicted 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian entities for alleged interference in the 2016 presidential election. The Vanek Vectors Russia Exchange Traded Fund RSX, which tracks a host of publicly traded Russian companies, fell 1.6% following news of the indictments. The fund is largely comprised of energy and financial companies, according to FactSet. The issuer's MSCI Russia at Ferris, a similar fund, shed 1.4%. The downturn appeared to reflect investor fears over souring U.S.-Russia relations and that the latest developments could force President Donald Trump's hand in enforcing sanctions. Trump has been reluctant to enforce additional sanctions on Russia despite a new law designed to punish Moscow's interference, saying that the measure was already taking a toll on Russian companies. WHO budget chief wants billions more from Germany post-Brexit news DW 16.2018. What's up with all the stuff that's been going down lately? WHO budget chief Jean Oettinger says he wants Berlin to pay at least €3 billion more to cope with new tasks after Britain leaves the bloc. But he said that meant just 10 cents a day more for everyone in Germany. Germany will be expected to contribute about $3 billion to $3.5 billion, $3.76 billion to $4.4 billion more to the EU than it does now to help meet new challenges facing Europe, European Union Budget Commissioner Jean Oettinger said in remarks published Friday. With 3 or 3.5 billion euros more from Germany, we could close the gap left by Brexit and finance additional measures, Oettinger told the Bild newspaper. He cited the protection of the EU's external borders and the fight against terrorism as being among the new challenges facing the bloc. That would be about 10 cents per day more than now per head, he said. Britain plans to leave the EU on March 29, 2019. The director under pressure to resign after Ash Florida school shooting. Check these digits. Pressure is mounting on the FBI director to resign after his agency admitted it failed to investigate a warning that the man accused of killing 17 people at a Florida high school possessed a gun and the desire to kill. The disclosure spread angry disbelief among residents of the Miami suburb of Parkland where Wednesday's massacre unfolded, and led Florida's Governor Rick Scott to call for FBI Chief Christopher Wray to resign. The FBI's failure to take action against this killer is unacceptable, Scott, a Republican, said in a statement. We constantly promote see something, say something, and a courageous person did just that to the FBI, and the FBI failed to act. Scott's comments came after the Federal Bureau of Investigation said in a statement that a person described as someone close to accused gunman Nicholas Cruz, 19, called in FBI tip line on Jan. 5, weeks before the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, to report concerns about him. The caller provided information about Cruz's gun ownership, desire to kill people, erratic behavior, and disturbing social media posts, as well as the potential of him conducting a school shooting, it said. At MEETIS King. I assume Republicans see Trump as tweets. You all know where this is heading. He doesn't value human life, our democracy or our country. Anyone silent in the face of this attempted coup will be remembered as a traitor alongside Trump and his shrinking regime. At Real Savira. Radical leftist group financed by George Soros is encouraging kids to walk out of schools to pressure politicians to take your gun rights away. Sounds like the Democrats are following Russia's plans for sowing division in America. Organizers behind the Women's March are encouraging students and teachers to participate in a walkout demonstration to demand action against gun violence. At Krasenstein. Just a friendly reminder. People with pre-existing mental health conditions have access to firearms but not health care. At Sarah Palanusa, take a look. Liz Wheeler is a millennial. But she is definitely an unusual millennial. Still under 30, she has written an Amazon bestseller, has her own business. At Mrapatio, good morning to you and your wallet.
You have one new message.
At Kickass2, at Ironstick. This is Riversong & I am statue bound you can be too. Donate at Ironstash Andy Bryce can & will take down Paul Ryan. Wisconsin deserves better. America is better than the craving of & their dirty money. We are at 10k of our 25k goal. Let us smash it. At Jules Sue, lol fuck you. At T. Penusa, fun fact, presidents that insist they are not crooks usually are. At Malcolm Fromthan. You said you have nuclear weapons, the US. Can't he stop? Trillions of dollars in military spending and this lie detector test have determined that was a lie. At Run for Congress. I am Dr. Christine D. Mann, Democrat for Congress TX31. I have fought for my patients for 2 decades and once elected I will continue to fight for you. Let us turn 31 blue donate. At Thomas 1774 Payne. Reporter Becky Griffin, fewer mass shootings if more babies were aborted. Reporter model Becky Griffin took to Twitter on Thursday and responded to Wednesday's mass shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida by insinuating that alleged at Still Gray. Absolute unit.
When I picked him up, I was worried he wasn't going to make it in the car ride.
Oh, buddy. You just relax.
The first couple days, he had no idea what was going on. His ears were down. He didn't want to move. He didn't want to go outside. All that extra weight just makes him so immobile. He couldn't go for long walks. The stress on his joint was pretty severe.
Didn't even go potty?
His mind was probably going a million miles an hour, and his body couldn't respond to it. We put him on a raw diet, and he just needed a little bit of traction and help. There's these waist things for dogs that have trouble with mobility that you kind of lift under their body, and I would guide him. I try to get him out as much as possible, but this is what he would do all day. I let him. He's such a love bug. He's just the best guy.
Come here. Oh, you just walked over for some pets. Hi, bud. You ready for your weigh-in?
He's lost almost 10 or 11 pounds in the course of 5 weeks.
Awesome. Oh, shake.
Just really awesome seeing him become a happy dog, and little milestones like howling, playing with a puppy, walking up the block.
We walk all the way from there to here.
He's starting to explore, and he just loves everything. He's just happy to be alive. The next real thing was just getting him situated in his final house. Jane Lynch, who's the family that's getting him, they had expressed interest from the beginning. She actually named Arbuckle.
When we first saw him, I told Jane right away, oh God, we have to get to that.
How students are fighting lies, half-truths, and hypocrisy in the wake of a Florida school shooting. The Trump curse hit lefty skier Lindsey Vonn yet again after she previously trashed the president. During an interview with CNN in December, Vonn said she does. At Wong. Very sad that the President of the United States doesn't know that there is a difference between the FBI's counterintelligence and criminal divisions. JFC, he is such an embarrassment. At Bedlanu, this night really took a turn. Fox News reacted to the indictments by throwing shiny objects at the camera to distract viewers. At Defend Europa. Corbyn's spy links should be investigated by MEETIS, says espionage expert. Jeremy Corbyn's alleged links to Czech spy should be probed by Parliament, an expert on communist era espionage said yesterday. Prof. anti-Russians for meddling in 2016 US presidential election. France 24. What Trump still gets wrong about how Russia played Facebook wired. Suicide bombers kill at least 19 in northeast Nigeria. Market attack. France 24. Carnival parades long millions of cluster news. DW build 2.2018. French right-wing leader Wapleys under fire over comments about Macron. Sarkozy. France 24. Sun US satirical art. The Korean Dayton through the eyes of a defector. France 24. Israeli archaeologists unearth Roman air mosaic. News. DW 2.2018. The Google Chrome ad blocker has already changed the web wired. Understanding America's endgame in Syria deeply. The impact of Chechen and North Caucasian militants in Syria deeply. German Film Festival Berlin M% Beyond kicks off in San Francisco. Film DW 92.2018. Federal immigration raids in Southern California target 122 businesses. Idlib women in jeopardy. What comes next? Syria deeply. When I search deep. Would you look at this? This story blows my mind. The U.S. coalitionist show of force against a pro-government attacking Syria last week is not a change in American engagement policy, but a sign that Washington's interest in Syria will increasingly come under threat. Take a good look at what I just found. Amid unprecedented pressures on healthcare facilities in eastern Gaza and the repeated failure to deliver life-saving aid, time is running out to improve the humanitarian situation and mitigate misery in the Damascus suburb, says medical researcher Dr. Annie Sparrow. Federal Nash immigration raids in Southern California target 122 businesses. Wow, check out what's going on. The federal government's immigration crackdown in California widened Friday with the announcement that a 5-day sweep led to the arrest of 212 undocumented immigrants and the targeting of 122 businesses in Southern California. The action comes on the heels of raids in Northern California targeting undocumented immigrant workers. The Trump administration's clampdown on illegal immigration in California follows the state's controversial sanctuary law, which limits local law enforcement cooperation with immigration authorities, going into effect in January. The state also passed a law that bars employers from voluntarily giving employee information to federal authorities. In January, the state's Attorney General, Xavier Becerra, warned that businesses could face a $10,000 fine if they violated the new law. This seems to be a battle between California as a state and the federal government, said Angelo Paparelli, an immigration attorney in the Hill Office of State Shaw. The employers, when they are served with notices of inspection, have an awareness that this isn't just a civil enforcement proceeding, it could very well lead to a criminal enforcement proceeding. Would you look at this? Whoa, now that's spicy. Attorney and Tenenbaum peacemaker Ryan Cavill writes about the deteriorating humanitarian situation for women in and around Idlib, where she co-founded the Jarjanas and Daraa Women's Peace Center with the EU last year.
Sheriff David Clark uses Michelle Obama's own words to humiliate her in front of all America. She is without a doubt the most American.
Have tacos tonight. I might have spaghetti tonight. Being of Italian descent, I could go out and I've had ethnic food. And when you asked me what I was doing for Latinos tonight, I may go out and have a Latino dinner in the Latino community. There's nothing wrong with that.
She called room service and ordered lobster salad and champagne. Made the comment, "Now I can sock it to Whitey," and continued to do just that during his term.
At Keemstar, at Jack Bell.
David Clark.
Attention at Jack Bell, you are in from low.
We speak for the streets. You're not allowed to come to our city.
It's without question that our former president
You are banned from Buffalo.
Deep in
Let them know. Pop, 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 pop.
and divisions that exist in our country.
Bang,
Exploiting them for his political gain to push his left-wing agenda. President Obama clearly left America a weakened nation by design. His First Lady Michelle Obama certainly helped his cause by saying inflammatory anti-American statements such as, "For the first time in my adult life, I am really proud of
Dice il riso che ha fatto appena vedere loro non piace.
Castagne.
Delle castagne? Le piacciono le castagne?
E poi ci trovo qualche arancio, qualche clementino e basta.
Oggi il basilico, lo devo ancora girare.
Non per mangiare. Non
Fanno la spesa scegliendo tra gli scarti, la frutta meno ammaccata e la verdura meno sciupata. Sono i pensionati di oggi che arrivano al mercato quando gli ambulanti se ne vanno. Non hanno soldi per fare la spesa, nemmeno dove la spesa costa meno. Così si accontentano degli scarti, lasciati sui marciapiedi.
Yes, because we want our good meals, our good life, and our good things. Because it's so easy, as we say, we are immigrants, and we all come from different countries, and it's because of us.
Non arrivano a fine mese con la loro pensione e quindi cercano tra i rifiuti un qualcosa che magari possono mangiare.
Quanto ricevi di pensione?
Io ho circa 600 euro.
Mai avrei creduto che arrivavo in pensione con la pensione.
Clark, a conservative
At Kyle
runs as a
Trump
Democrat
has no public
in
event Sunday,
Democratic
according to the
Milwaukee
WH
County,
schedule.
was first elected sheriff in 2002. In 2013, he earned a master's degree in security studies from the Center for Homeland Defense and Security at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. He made efforts to keep his regular travel to California secret while he worked toward the degree. On May 20th, 2017,
Anon has a solution.
The CNN report, the school removed Clark's thesis from its website and replaced it with this note. This item was removed from view at the discretion of the Naval Postgraduate School.
Scaling the DevOps model requires a focus on asset consumption and reuse. Learn how an OP strategy enhances DevOps.
Procedure for the school to remove a thesis from its website and conduct a review when there is an allegation of plagiarism. He said an investigator
At Real
the school would submit a
Very sad
report
that
with
we
a
missed all of the many
recommendation
signals
on what
sent out by the
action,
Florida
if
school
any,
shooter.
the school
This is
should
not
take in
acceptable.
Clark's case.
They are spending too much time
Phillips
trying
said
to
the
prove
school
Russian
tried to
collusion with the Trump
contact
campaign.
Clark
There is no collusion.
because he could
Get back to the
participate in
basics and
review,
make us all
but
proud.
that he didn't reply. Here's what CNN said about the thesis. Clark failed to properly attribute his sources at least
Fox News,
47
free speech,
times.
free speech on Mueller indictment. I think that Americans were simply not
CNN
aware that this degree of influence on Mueller was going on.
And credits them with a
Russians,
footnote,
even
but
though
does
they
not
had done this in
indicate
the
with
Ukraine,
quotation
I visit
marks that he is
frequently,
taking
and
the
in
words
Germany.
verbatim.
And even though they might have been involved
in the effort in England to get British people to support Brexit,
Ray
that
Gowdy
is,
is
getting out
mad.
of the EU.
Catches
it was
Loretta
somehow
Lynch in
unimaginable
huge lie
that they
about
would try
Hillary
this
Clinton.
in the United States.
The fact
This was
is,
kind of crossing
Attorney
a red
General
line.
Loretta
And I
Lynch
think,
was following
Americans were
orders from the
simply not
White
aware
House.
that this
Ever
degree
since the
of
Federal Bureau
influence,
of Investigation gave
maneuvering was
Hillary a
going on.
free pass, Ray Gowdy has been assailing Attorney General Loretta Lynch with criticisms as to why she allowed this miscarriage of justice to happen. Ray said, "This dual track, a different set of rules for certain people and for others, it frankly should not matter."
News and current affairs from Germany and around the world. DW. Israel strikes Gaza Strip after 4 soldiers wounded. News DW 17 2.2018. Stolen €1 cello returned to French musician Off-Lee Gaylor. News DW 17 2.2018. MSC Chief Ishkinger warns of high global danger of war. News DW 16 2.2018. French right-wing leader Wauquiez under fire over comments about Macron. Sarkozy friends 24. Libya marks 7 years since uprising France 24. FBI acknowledges failure to investigate tip on Florida gunman France 24. Canada postpones marijuana legalization to death for rape, murder of 7-year-old News DW 17.2018. Israeli archaeologists unearth a Roman era mosaic News DW 082.2018. Suicide bombers kill at least 19 in northeast Nigeria. Market attack France 24. Video fleeing ethnic strife. Congolese refugees seek haven on Ugandan shores. France 24. Britain Antioch party ousts latest leader in revolt. News DW 17.2018.
In Washington, Secretary of State
National Security Advisor evidence that Russia meddled in a selection in controvertible.
Is ready to engage in direct talks. Tillerson was speaking in an interview with CBS that'll air on Sunday, U.S. time, in which he said it's his job as chief diplomat to let North Korea know that Washington keeps its channels open. Tillerson said the U.S. does get messages from Pyongyang, and that when it comes to how the two sides go about their first direct talks, any related message from the North will be clear. But he also noted that the U.S. is not using carrots to convince North Korea to talk, but large sticks. Tillerson has said previously that North Korea knows what has to be on the table when it comes to talks, referring to the regime's nuclear program.
Airport controllers trade a tower for a screen-filled room wired.
We start with the latest from the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. South Korea has won its third medal at this year's games, this one from Che Min-jung in the women's short track speed skating. It was the first gold for Che. Also in the men's short track, Soyira took bronze in the 1,000 meters. Lee Jung-yeon has the report.
South Korea has now won 3 gold medals at this year's Winter Games, the latest one in short track speed skating, adding to those already won by speed skater Im Hyo-jun and skeleton racer Yoon Sung-bin. On Saturday in the women's 1,500-meter short track, Che Min-jung came in first place with a time of 2 minutes and 24.948 seconds.
News and current affairs from Germany and Iran for chemical weapons in Syria. News DW 17.2018.
And hopes that South Koreans might win gold in both of them. With just 4 laps to go, Che suddenly burst ahead, passing China's Li Jinyu and Canada's Kim Butang, and breaking noticeably away from the pack. In the crowd was South Korean President Moon Jae-in and First Lady Kim Jong-suk.
How Parkland students are setting and keeping the record straight wired.
Finish line. Che's stunning achievement and her first gold medal in the games was a relief to fans who saw her disqualified in the 500-meter final. It was even more meaningful.
Federal immigration raids in Southern California target 122 businesses.
Prowess had not won gold in the 1500 meter since the games in Torino, Italy in 2006. Che will also be competing in the 1000 and 3000 meter relays with a high chance for the gold there as well.
Yacht company says they will take Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies for payment.
Korea's Soyira in the men's 1000 meters. He recovered quickly from a crash in the final lap that brought down 3 athletes and took bronze. Lee Jung-yeon, Arirang News.
A spade cut to Gaza refugees has left a time bomb on cheap warns. Carnival parades from millions across Germany. News DW 12.2018.
The U.S. Department of Commerce is urging the Trump administration to impose
the impact of Chechen and North Caucasian militants in Syria deeply.
And aluminum in the name of national security, though America may end up targeting its close ally, South Korea.
Business News Markets reports and financial news from Sky News.
One of the options being considered is a tariff of 53% on steel from 12 countries. Those 12 include China and Brazil and Korea, but not other traditional U.S. allies like Germany, Japan, or Canada, even though Canada is the #1 exporter of steel to the U.S. An official at South Korea's trade ministry said what the list is actually targeting is countries that import Chinese steel and thereby support China's cheap steel exports. Ultimately, President Trump will decide on what course to take, the alternative proposed to the list of 12 countries being a global tariff of 24%. South Korean President Moon Jae-in was in Pyeongchang yesterday to cheer on the Korean skaters in the short track finals. He also met with journalists there, plus the officials and volunteers that made these Olympic Games
Russians indicted in Special Counsel Robert Mueller as probe.
Geopolitics and the Korean Peninsula, President Moon says it's still too soon to think about holding an inter-Korean summit in the north. Our Blue House correspondent Hwang Ho-jun reports.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch is the stance of South Korean President Moon Jae-in when it comes to a possible meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The liberal leader made those comments on Saturday during his latest visit to the host city of the Winter Olympics, stopping by the main press center to offer some encouragement to journalists from around the world covering the Pyeongchang Winter Games. There's been an apparent thaw in relations between the two Koreas during the Olympics, but President Moon is still cautious about discussing the timing of a meeting between himself and the North Korean leader. However, he did note that there's a growing recognition of the need for dialogue between the US and North Korea and said he looked
When I search deep. What's up with all the stuff that's been going down lately? After Florida shooting, students spurt act against hash guns. The internet really creeps me out sometimes. Coral Springs, United States. When the gunshots rang out at our Florida high school, Lorena Sanabria hid in a classroom with friends, forced to listen to the blood-curdling screams of victims as they waited for help and prayed they won't be next. Now Lorena, 16, is among a new wave of survivors determined to add their uniquely powerful voices to the cause of gun control, which has failed to make headway despite the alarming frequency of such attacks in the United States. 17 perished and more than a dozen were wounded in the hail of bullets at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, the latest mass shooting to devastate a smallest community and renew calls for gun control. In an emotional interview in which she frequently fought back tears, the dark-haired teen admitted that despite a keen interest in women's rights and equality, she had never considered herself particularly interested in politics, until now. I think that now more than ever, us as students, We should use our voice. You know the voices through the cameras. We should use this to speak directly to the government and beg them to please make changes to the policies, she told us. Would you look at this? The Syrian war has transformed women's role in the workforce, giving way to opportunities previously reserved for men. As women take on more responsibility and autonomy, for many opportunity does not mean equality. Take a good look at what I just found. With Syria's healthcare system crippled by conflict, women and children are dying from treatable illnesses. One doctor and his team are providing them safe, dedicated medical care by building hospitals below ground, out of the reach of airstrikes.